Hey, my friends, can you believe it's Halloween Eve, the weirdest, strangest, craziest time of year? And it's another Friday, and a Separation Friday. Remember we talk about, and I'm going to remind you again, that's what champions do, right? We separate on Friday. We don't stop at noon. We don't stop at 9. We don't look and cruise into the weekend. We get up, we get at it, and we make stuff happen. And speaking of that, today we are going to talk for 30, 40, 50 minutes with somebody that's become just a brother and a friend and a pal, and just a world-class guy. It's the hashtag No Excuses coach himself, Christopher Rausch, and we are just going to have a unfiltered, if you will, which is one of his shows, but we're going to have an unfiltered chat about life and about building wins, which is the theory of my show, and how we do that, and go from there. So don't go away. We're going to be right back in about 7 seconds, I think. Fire, buddy. Look at that.
What's up, Mr. Randy? Man. Good to see you.
Are we going to get into flexion stuff, or what are we going to do? We can do that.
75 hard, baby.
Good to see you, my brother.
It's good to see you, too, man. Happy Friday.
Hey, it's another Friday, isn't it? You know what I love about Fridays? Is what? They nestle nicely right between Thursdays and Saturdays. They just fit in there so beautifully.
I know. I used to be like TGI Friday. I can't wait till it's Friday. Now every day for me is Friday, Monday, Saturday. It's all the same to me now.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Is when you love what you do and do what you love. You're not waiting for the weekend. You're not waiting for vacation. You're not waiting for that trip. Well, those are all fun, right? But I can't imagine. And I spent a part of my life with hating Thursday. Because Thursday meant Friday, and Friday meant Saturday, which meant Sunday, which meant I'm going to have to go back to work Monday, right? Does that make sense? I'm already thinking about how bad Monday's going to suck on Thursday, and
Well, that's the point. You shouldn't have a life that you run away from. That's what I started telling myself when I was comfortably miserable. It was like, why are we saving up all of our money to run away for a week or 2 weeks to escape our life to only return back to it? It's like we got to stop that insanity, and that's what I did and never look back.
Exactly. So before we get before we get started, I'm having a second one or the third one. Before we get started, give us a little bit of who is Christopher Rausch?
Who is Christopher Rausch? Well, first of all, Randy, brother, thank you so much for having me on here. I've been excited about this. We've known each other. You've been on our shows. It's all been good. My story, well, let me give you the Cliff Notes version, then I'll let you ask questions off of that. So essentially, who is Christopher Rausch? Christopher Rausch is the No Excuses coach, and essentially I help people overcome their self-created crap without the self-help fluffy BS. And I became this way through a long, fun, exciting journey of ups and downs. And for the first 13 years of my life, never knew my biological father, grew up with a mother with very psychological disorders, had a sister who had a different dad. My biological father was married with a family of his own, and with the psychological situations and the promiscuity of my mother and the fact that she already had abortions and miscarriages and everything, when I came along in the picture, she was going to place me for adoption. And I asked her later in life when she told me this, and I said, well, why didn't you? And she said, well, the nurses placed me on my chest, and they looked at you, and I was just like, you know what? It's just you and me, kid. And at that point, she was on welfare, food stamps. She was living in Southeast Los Angeles in a neighborhood that was predominantly black, so it was not safe for her. And she brings this little white kid home to the neighborhood, and from that point forward, in Inglewood for the first 6 years of my life was pure mayhem. It was purely on the buses, always being on the go, always being at parties, stuck in a room somewhere. My life was isolated, and it was like I was just like mom's additional carry-on, and that was for about the first 13 years of my life. There's a lot more into that, but essentially what happened when I was 13 is that I came home from junior high school. I was a 7th grader and found out that my mom lost our house. She spent all the money trying to save her cat, and so at the age of 13, in the 7th grade, I wound up being a homeless dropout, living in the back seat of a station wagon with, no joke, 18 cats and 2 dogs. For the next 4 years of my life, it was in and out of the car, living on the streets, living in garages, living in cheap motels, just living anywhere I could survive. And there was a lot of different things that happened within those 4 years. So you can ask me those questions. I tried to commit suicide twice. Fortunately, I sucked at it. And ultimately, I had a gun put to my head, and it made me make some decisions about my life. And from that point forward, I just changed it. I wound up going back to school, getting my master's degree, creating an enormous success for myself in the corporate world, becoming a coach and a speaker and mentoring at-risk kids, going back to the school that I dropped out of to speak to those kids and tell them that, hey, you're going to go on a journey, but guess what? You're going to make it. I'm living proof. Follow me. I'm here to teach you. Let's do this. And progressively through mentoring kids and taking my trash and making it my treasure, I built a successful business around speaking and coaching and my own podcasts and everything else. And I'm here to talk about any part of that, Mr. Randy, any part of that.
Awesome. You know, and I knew your story. You and I have talked about your story in the past, and you're very willing to share, which I think is great, because, you know, just knowing where you are today and listening to it again, every time I listen to it, it makes me go, holy crap, because that's a lot, right? But that's probably why you are what you are today, right? Because it's a lot of people have it, the silver spoon, so to speak, right? And when you have the silver spoon, and I suppose if you all fast forwarded at some point, you say, well, giving your upbringing versus the silver spoon upbringing, I'll give them the spoon, right? But at the end of the day, how far are you going to rise from that starting point of the silver spoon, where you're astronomical? And I think being able to bring that to your audience, not only the kids that you did in mentoring, but just what you're doing now. You're on. I see you all the time. I catch you at night. A little earlier would be good, because I go to bed early, dude. Just in case, if you could plug that in and think about it. You and Scott come on at like ungodly hours at night when I'm already in bed. But then again, I go to bed at 8:30 because I'm up ready to rock and roll. But anyway, the story is brilliant. So, not to get too far into the weeds, so to speak, but things are pretty bad if a kid your age decided twice that you want to commit suicide, right? I mean, that's no joke right there, right?
Mm-hmm. What was that?
Sorry, I had a little catch in my throat. So yeah, that's no joke. And the fact that you got through all that and are able to take that and to bring good and to do good, hats off, my brother. Hats off. I mean, that's good stuff. So
thank you.
You went into the corporate world and got an MBA. From all that, you could have went a lot of directions, and unfortunately, most kids in that scenario would have went directions that we would be having a whole different conversation if the kid was even here to have a conversation now, right? But you went at a whole different level. I mean, going to corporate world, an MBA. What was the one point in your life where you said, you know what, whatever I got here, there's something better? And what was there a deciding day one day where you just like this explosion went off and you go, I got to do something?
As far as leaving corporate?
Or even getting into corporate to begin with.
Oh, you know what? It was all part and parcel of the fact that the people that I got around who were mentoring me, my buddy, my dear friend, he passed away, Bill White. He was one of the most influential men in my life when I was 17 years old. And I decided to leave my mom in the motel because I had, to your point, I was either going to get out of that place in a pine box or in the back of a patrol car. And I was firmly that this is what's going to happen unless I change and take responsibility and ownership for my life. And up until that point, I'd always done everything my mom said. I always lived in fear, the physical abuse, the mental abuse, the spiritual abuse. Everything just drove me down. I was afraid. I was bullied by her. I was bullied by the kids at school. I was bullied by the kids on my block. I was just fearful, scared, and alone, and felt abandoned. And so that's why I wanted to escape. Ultimately, when I got around the right people, and my mentor Bill said, hey, why don't you go back to school? And I'm like, dude, I'm 17 years old, working 3 jobs, living in an apartment with 4 guys. You want me to go to school? Are you crazy? I'm stupid. My mom told me all the time, stop being stupid. You're so stupid. And I literally thought that. I did not, and especially being a 7th grade dropout. I mean, I didn't even make it to high school. I wasn't doing very good in the 7th grade anyway. I was starting to fight and smoke pot and doing all sorts of bad stuff because I'd been bullied for so long that all of a sudden I became the bully. At 13 years old, I started sprouting and started getting bigger, and the anger and the animosity was building. So I was able to punch the shit out of some people, and it felt good. And I'm so glad that actually we went through that process of being homeless because, like you said at the beginning, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And there's actually a tattoo on my arm that says, "What doesn't kill me only makes me stronger." For those of you guys listening to this, and I put it there because there's opportunities and moments in our life that when we grow the most, when we look back on our life, when did we grow the most? We grew the most when we went through challenging stuff. So for me, it was all about success. It was all about, getting into a place where I'd have safety and certainty, security. And when I was homeless, I just wrote about this in my book, actually just yesterday. It's crazy that I'm talking about it. But I remember laying in the back seat of the station wagon. It was a rainy night. We were sleeping behind this liquor store. It was a dark place. We had the cats in the car, the dog in the car. My mom was in the front seat. I'm in the back seat. It was raining. It was smelling. It was wet. It was cold. And I remember I had a blanket and I just turned and I tucked my face inside the vinyl seat. And I remember the stitching of the vinyl seat. I just wrote about it yesterday. And I just remember saying to myself that one day I'm going to have a place that nobody can take away from me, that I can call home, that nobody's going to tell me what to do, and that perhaps that I can go back and change the world and help the world become a better place. And through that process, when I met Bill, he was in business. And so he ultimately gave me a job. He didn't make it easy for me. He gave me a night job in a trucking company that was in Los Angeles that was like a 56-mile drive for me each way. But I took his advice and I went for it, and I just kept putting one foot in front of the other, and ultimately got into corporate. And I started finding that there was a success principle. You work hard, you overachieve, you over-deliver, you make people happy, and then you get promotions, you get more money, you get more stature, you get more ego, you get more all this stuff, and you start assembling an identity for yourself that says, I'm somebody. I've got money, I've got stature, I've got an office with a window, I've got staff, I've got my name on a business card, and all this other stuff. It's just all great. And it afforded me, success, both egoic success and financial success and personal success. But ultimately, I just found myself in a place where I wasn't being congruent. I wasn't being 100% in my zone of genius, but I was in my zone of excellence as a leader, as somebody who has a master's degree, as somebody who loves to lead corporations and lead teams and change things around and just, serve the customer. But ultimately, that just became too much for me after 26 years. And then, ultimately, the universe said, it's time for you to go and fly your wings, little butterfly, and just be a coach and a speaker, not just, but follow your passion in a sense.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the big things, right? Is follow your passion. And as successful as you were in the corporate world, once you recognize that, I'm going to guess that as much success as you had in the corporate world, it wasn't still giving you everything you wanted, right? There was more out there because there wasn't any kind of positions like that can suck some of that passion out of people sometimes, right? It's the nature of that beast. And that's one of the things you and I've talked about before. I talk about it often is love what you do what you love, right? Live it, love it, own it. If you grasp that in your life, right? And then and we talked about earlier on the start of the show that every day becomes just another great day to be doing what you do. And so you found that, and with it, you're able to help a lot of people. I mean, that's awesome.
Yes, it's what I love to do. I mean, being able to say something or do something in such a way that gets people to have a reaction or a response that realizes that all they need to do is start making a little bit different choices and a little different decisions, and being able to, use that compound interest principle. I mean, so many people in today's society, and you know this, Randy, they want it overnight. But I'm like, how long did it take you to get into the situation? Mentally, physically, spiritually? Did it take you 10 years, 5 years? Has it been the last 2 years? Has it been the last 30 years? If it's been the last 30 years, then you have to understand that it's going to take that perpetual momentum of saying, okay, what do I need to shift today? Perhaps I'm going to shift my mindset on not scarcity and fear, and I'm going to shift my mindset into gratitude and abundance. Maybe I'm going to start surrounding myself with the right people, and you can change that trajectory of what it is that you're focusing on, and that compound interest builds. It's like I was telling somebody the other day, I said, you don't need me as your coach. I said, here's what you got to do, because I knew they weren't taking care of themselves. I said, hydrate yourself, drink half your body weight in ounces of water, because you're not hydrating yourself. Your body's not operating efficiently. So you're not making good decisions. You're not feeling good. You're reacting. You're going to short-term gratifications. Hydrate yourself, get a little bit better sleep, a little bit better nutrition, and get some exercise, whatever possibly you can do. 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour, 2 10-minute walks a day, whatever it is possible you can do, and journal. And read. There's all little micro steps that we can take and take responsibility for ourselves. But most people are sitting there doing the blame thing. Oh, they're hoping, wishing, and praying that someday somebody's going to come by and say, here, let me help you up. Here, let me give you everything that you need, and it'll be super easy for you. What fun is in that? The growth is when you go through that stuff and you look on the other side and you're like, holy wow, I went through that. And most people say, hey, I went through that. You can go through that too. And I see it all the time. I see it all the time. My coaching clients, they're like, man, I want to become a coach because now I helped my friend and I did this and I feel so great for doing this. It's amazing what we can do when we give ourselves and we give meaning and purpose to the things that were negative in our life, because those negative things create the people that we are today if we choose to be those people. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I agree 100%. And what you just hit on is something that I think about a lot. And as a matter of fact, I've got some ideas floating in my head for some video series I want to do about it. So I'm not going to give a lot of it away. Not that it's much to give away, but but you just hit on a point. Incrementalism. You didn't say the word, but it's all incremental, because whether it's relationships, whether it's business relationships or sales relationships, which is my world, personal, family, fitness and nutrition, all that. You didn't get 100 pounds overweight overnight. You didn't get $400,000 in debt overnight. You didn't gain a bunch of business overnight. But the same token, you're not going to lose all that overnight either, right? It's all incremental. You take steps after step after step. It's kind of like, I think about in the world of dating, right? You and I have both been with our spouses for a long time now. And you got a lovely lady and a great son. How old is he, by the way?
Thank you. He is nearing 5, going on 15.
As
he's
they all
awesome.
do. You're going to wake up one day and he's going to be 37, and you're going to go. Then you're going to be old like me, Chris, and have a great grandson.
Well, I'll be older than that. My son's 5 and I'm 52. So when he's 37, I'll be 89. I don't know. I'm bad at math, but
yeah, that's close enough.
You're not 89.
Hydrate and exercise year round.
Jack Daniels, baby.
Yeah,
got to preserve.
Yeah, he's preserved. I find Cabernet works well for me.
Nice.
With a little trailer of Bailey's on the rocks late in the evening if necessary. But
there you go, dessert.
But incrementalism, right? You think about you take it in the dating world, for example, right? You don't just typically, hey, hi, I'm Chris, you're pretty, okay, let's get married, right? There's steps, right? There's steps in business. In my world, I never get a customer the first time I call on them. If I do, I'll take it, but I'm worried that, one, did I give something away? Two, is this going to be long lasting? Because there had to be a reason they left where they were. It wasn't just because I'm that pretty and handsome and I walked in today, right? So
might be.
That could be, but for every one of those, there's 10 that's not. So, but it's all incremental, but you also lose things incrementally too, right? By making mistakes, by not paying attention, by not, whether it's relationships with your spouse, whether it's business relationships, whether it's physical fitness relationships. I mean, let's face it. I know you are, and I'm pretty big on eating right and staying physically fit. I can go screw up for 2-3 days, and the world doesn't end.
Right.
But I can't do it for 6 months, or I'm going to be right back at or close to where I didn't want to be, or didn't, when I started this journey, right? So it really is incrementalism. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It really is. It's just, I tell people all the time, just put one foot in front of the other. Just what can I do today? What one thing can I do today that pushes me out of my comfort zone, that will get me one step closer? Even I myself, Randy, I am, before I was such a certainty person, I was such a results person. I was such a predictor, planner, preparer, what if, plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that I always wanted to predict certainty. And it wasn't until I had my coach in 2019 and she really exposed to me. She goes, Chris, you got to get out of survivor mode. I'm like, what do you mean survivor mode? And I didn't really understand it. I'm like, I'm successful. I have stuff, I'm not worried right now. And she's like, there's a subconscious part of you that's still worried because you're still doing these things. You're still doing things for certainty rather than for actually truly living and going after your dream. And that's when she had me watch the Steve Harvey video, which I've talked about millions of times, Jump. It's less than 2 minutes. If you guys have never seen it, go watch it. Not right now, but go watch it on YouTube. It's called Jump. It's by Steve Harvey. She had me watch that, Randy, because I was wondering, I was watching my coaching friends and I was making good money and I was doing everything. I was comfortably miserable. Like I said, sitting in traffic for 2 hours on the way home from my work, wondering, when am I going to do my thing? When am I going to really take a step and really believe in me and make that jump, really make that jump and know that I'm going to fall and know that I'm going to get banged up as I'm going down. But I know that parachute's going to open. And finally, just being able to get to that point. But it wasn't overnight. It's been a lot of years. And there's some days where I sit there and I think, Randy, I'm like, God, I've been doing this for a long time. And I'm still waiting for the big break, if you will, because I know it's going to happen. But some days I sit there and I start wondering, I'm like, what do What am I supposed to do right now? What am I supposed to be learning right now? I'm big on questions. That's one thing I've learned in the last couple of years is the quality of your questions. And somebody just said this yesterday, and I can't remember who it was. The quality of your questions really dictate the quality of your life. So now I'll wake up in the morning, and one of the first things I do in the morning is to be able to own the day. And we don't really think about owning the day. We get up, we hit the alarm clock, and usually negativity starts bubbling in our mind. We look at our phone, we're like, oh, today I got to do this. I wonder if there's gonna be traffic. I wonder if this person's gonna be like this. I got to make cold calls today. Within the first 10 minutes of our day, we're already polluting our mind with negativity and scarcity and all this other stuff. And we expect to go through the day and be successful. So what I started doing was I started getting up in the morning and I started, okay, what am I grateful for? Before my eyes even open, what am I grateful for? Let's start off with gratitude. I'm awake. My eyes open. I can breathe. I'm not in a hospital. My family's here. I have electricity. I have hot running water. I have food. There's so many different things to be grateful for. The sheets on my bed, the people that made the bed. There's so much gratitude in the world because I deal with people in Haiti. I deal with the country Haiti as part of Help Heal Humanity. And I've been blown away. I mean, we know that people have it devastatingly harsh in third world countries. Come on, we know that. But when you see it and you really kind of process it, it's unfathomable that even the fact that we have a mirror. We just have a mirror that we can see ourselves. We know what we look like. When my buddy Serena was in Haiti recently after the earthquake, I asked her, I said, do people get bothered by wanting to take pictures and video of them and kind of showing the devastation? Do they feel like you're being, impersonal? I'm like, no, Chris, they want to see the pictures because they've never seen what they look like with their kids. They've never seen that. They don't have a mirror. They basically have nothing. So for me, it's all about that gratitude. And second to that, the point is to set the intention. Set the intention for the day before your eyes even open. What is my intention for the day? One of my intentions, Randy, always is to learn something and to grow and to see how I can pivot and become a better, more effective father, a more effective communicator, a better interviewer, a better husband, a better friend, a better listener. Every single day, I constantly have that as a goal. And that's what will perpetuate my success. And that's what we all need to hang on to is the fact that it is that compound interest that carries us forward. But one of the massive contributing factors to all of that is the people that we hang around the most. And that was something that I had to learn early on. And I'm sure you had to do that too.
Yeah, it is you're right. You do become a big part of who you hang around with, right? You take on their characteristics. It's like if you move from the Midwest, and I've been told I have a relatively normal Midwest accent. I don't think I have an accent. I think everybody else does. But if I was to live, now I live most of my good part of my life in Southern Florida, but Southern Florida is not the South. That's a place all by itself, right? When you think of the South, you think of Alabama, Arkansas, some of those places.
Okeechobee, Florida, I've heard is kind of south.
That can be a little south. That middle part can be south. Yeah, exactly. And we're about an hour and a half from there, as a matter of fact. So maybe I'll pick up a little of that someday. But if somebody like me went and lived in Arkansas for a year, I'm going to have some yaw going on, right? I mean, you just pick that up. It's just you take on that stuff. I'd probably become slower paced than what I normally am because I have that northern Midwest bam, bam, bam. It's like I'm standing because I almost want to go do something in a second here, right? That's just my personality. You take on the people you're around. So I think it's important, right, to make sure as much as you can to put yourself around the people that are like-minded, like-hearted, like-thinking, because you're only and hopefully better than you are, smarter than you
always
are, and stronger than you are, whatever the case may be. Because and I know I can't remember who says, I should remember because I know somebody pretty important, maybe you. But if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. That was like Jobs or Gates or I don't know who it was.
Yes, so true.
Is that true? I mean, if you're the smartest one, I'll tell you, if you're in my room and I'm the smartest one, you're in big trouble.
You know what? No, that's one of the things that I found as I became stronger in my own confidence, in my own awareness, everything that I found out that I didn't realize this, but I liked being the smartest person in the room because, wow, people need you. They look up to you. They respect you and all this other stuff. And it makes you feel really good. But for your growth and your prosperity, you stay stagnant. And I noticed that for about in my 30s, a little bit of my 40s, actually, I kind of look back now and I stayed the same. I wasn't hanging around with other people. And then I remember thinking about it and I watched all my other friends that were going to networking events. They were going to masterminds. They were doing all this stuff. And I was like, wow, so-and-so is getting up there. okay, I need to do more of that. I need to go put myself in more uncomfortable positions. So I can't remember what year it was. It might've been 2015, 2014, but I made it a pledge to myself to go out there and do something uncomfortable every single week. And most of that was going out to network marketing, joining a mastermind and getting around smarter, brighter people. And I was scared about that because, again, I still had that limiting belief a little bit back there. Am I being an imposter? Am I really stupid? Am I just lucky? Am I really just very charismatic and getting what I want? What was this? And so when I got into a room, in the mastermind room, I was amazed at how many beautiful people were there to help build me up. And that's such the key component of that. Stephen Covey talks about it in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's like, who are your 5? And now I translate that now and I ask people, who are your team? When people sit there and say, oh, Chris, I don't know what to do, and I'll ask them, like, who's your team? And like, team, what do you mean? Sports? And I'm like, no. Who are the people who's the person that you trust? Who's the person that you trust that you can go to? Who's the person that empowers you or inspires you? And who's the person that holds you accountable? And who's your mentor? And most people, if they do have somebody, they'll say, oh, I've got somebody, and they're all of those people. And I'm like, well, what you need to do is you need to decipher that out and spread that out and find each person that is the expert in those areas and have your team. Have a person that's going to hold you accountable. Have a person that's going to empower you. Have a person that you can go to and trust and say, hey, listen, I don't have it all figured out. There's so much beauty, Randy, and you know this, the power of vulnerability and being able to go somebody who's wiser, smarter, brighter than you, that's been through the stuff. And you go to them and say, hey, listen, I don't understand all this. I feel like I'm like swimming in a big pond and I'm a little fish and And you go to somebody you trust who's been there, they're going to say, you know what, Chris, I had so many people say, like, you think this person has it? You think that person has it? It's all just smoke and mirrors. And that's when I really started learning about just being me. I was the suit and tie speaker going out there saying all the things that everybody else was doing. I was doing the whole hand clasp crap. And then finally, I just got sick of it. And I said, I just got to be me because I don't want to have to go out there and pretend to be something I'm not. I don't want to go out there and hide anything, whether I've got it figured out or I don't. If I don't have it figured out, I'll tell you. And that was one of the happiest decisions that I made when I shed all that stuff. And I didn't want to be the smartest person in the room, that I wanted to be vulnerable. I wanted to be real. I wanted to be me. And there was a lot of challenge and a lot of adversity in making that decision because I was very successful being a suit and tie speaker. I even had Les Brown tell me I could put you on stages to my face. I have pictures, you've seen them, pictures with Les in a bandana. And he says, I can't do the kick-ass thing, Chris. I can't do the language thing. And I said, Les, I love you to death, but I got to keep doing me. I got to keep being me. And that was one of the most pivotal points in my career as a speaker, as a coach, and really identifying and being comfortable and empowering and engaging with who I really am at my core. And that's the people I attract now. I'm not for everybody, which is fine, but the people that I am for, it's cool. People dig it and I dig it. And I have my team of people and I surround myself with beautiful people like yourself and Scott and all the guys that we know, Ken and everybody, Mark. I was looking at Mark and Kellen here. It's amazing what you could do when you have that support team and that you use that support team.
Exactly. So this, I assume, is a friend of yours, Margaret. Is it Zyke or Zick? Is that?
Yeah, Margaret is a dear sister, soul sister from another mister. We've known each other for a number of years. She's a beautiful soul, and she is a coach as well. So thank you, Margaret, for being here. I appreciate you. I love you. Yeah, she's an amazing person.
Awesome. But you speaking of people, and of course we both know Kellen and Mark and great folks. And another guy that's up there, I don't know if he's still here or not, but Barry Broxman. He's a brother and a friend and a pal of mine. We've had our exciting times in many a city in the United States together. And Barry is a sales pro. He's in the same world as I'm in. And we've worked together at times and not together at times. But the one thing that never changes, and that's the beauty of that, is he's one of those kind of guys that you just hit on. And I'm glad he popped up earlier. Is he's my guy. He's one of my guys. It's a guy that you have.
Go Barry.
Right, Barry. You only have certain people, right, that that you could call at 3 a.m, 7 times until they finally woke up and answered the phone and said, dude, I got to talk. Right? And you don't have a lot of those, but you keep those close. And so, that's good stuff. But so I want to circle back on something. He said something about being in survivor mode. And I want to maybe dig a little deeper on that, because that's something that I use the term sometimes that so many people get up every day and they go through their day, their week, their month, their life, merely existing as opposed to engaging, right?
Yep.
And that, I think that's kind of along what you're saying, is existing or surviving is somewhat the same thing, right? In your mind, I mean, it's almost like, and I know they don't, or I don't think they do, but you almost feel like sometimes they get up and they look in the mirror and they fix their hair a little bit in the morning and they go, I think I'm just going to have a crappy C- day today. I'm just going to get through the day because it's going to suck, because I just looked at my calendar, I got a call I don't want to make, and I got to talk to this guy, and this day's going to suck. Well, somewhere you got to be able to just literally or virtually just slap the crap out of yourself, right? And say, look, I am going to have a great day because I'm going to engage in everything I do today. And what say you to that?
I could probably talk for another 2 hours on just that. It's funny that you mentioned that, because for me, I tell people living versus existing. When you think about the autopilot factor of, you drive to work and all of a sudden you get to work and you realize that how did I get here? You don't really pay attention. You're on autopilot. I call it default mode. When I talk to coaching clients, I'm like, you're in default mode right now. This is what you do. You get up, you brush your teeth, you do this, expect it, but I have my coffee, I go to my work, And then every once in a while, I have an epiphany. Oh, I should set some goals. Oh, maybe I should change my life. Oh, maybe I'm not happy in this relationship. And then we think about it for a second, like, oh, that's a lot of work. I'm just overreacting. And what I find out is in the coaching that I've done in the last couple of years, especially, is that I find out when I ask people what it is that they're tolerating, most of the time we're thinking about like big things. And I'm like, what is it you're tolerating? I'm like, what do you mean, Chris? And I'm like, well, think about it. So I give my coaching clients an exercise where I tell people on the shows just like this. I'm like, go take a pen and paper, just like this, and write down all the things you're tolerating from yourself, and all the things you're tolerating from other people, and all the things you're tolerating from inanimate objects. Like the key in the ignition is always sticking, or the front door squeaks, or this doesn't work, or my pillows suck, or the husband always leaves the toothpaste. Think about all the different things that we're tolerating. And then you find the reason that either people are going to take action and address those tolerations, but a lot of that comes from fear, scarcity. What if, who am I being, who am I to say, I just want to keep these people happy. And that's existing. And those are the people that are existing in their life. And those are the people that are going to run to short-term gratifications to get that endorphin release, that serotonin release, whatever chemical release you want to talk about. They're going to go do that. Oh, if I go watch Netflix for a little bit, I'll feel better. If I go have a chocolate donut, I'll feel better. If I have a drink, I'll feel better. If I watch 10 hours of sports, I'll feel better. If I go, whatever it is, whatever the short-term gratification is, people are running away from their life. I have found more times, Randy, and I'm sure you'd understand this as well, that people will plan a tailgate party, they'll plan their vacation, they'll plan their wedding, they'll spend 6 months planning, and they'll put all this effort in it, they'll do all this research, and they'll make it all perfect and everything, but they'll never do that with their effing life. And that blows my mind, because you've seen my social media posts. I always post #no regrets. So for me, that's the biggest amount of leverage that I could take. It's like, what would I regret today that if I didn't take a chance or risk for something or go live life? So many people are playing the someday game. Oh, someday when the kids are out of school, or someday when this happens, or someday when that happens, or hope, wish, and pray. I tell people like, oh, I hope that this happens. I'm like, well, what are you going to do besides hope? What are you going to do besides hope? You're going to do something? You're going to go out there and get scared? Are you going to go out there and have some fear? Are you going to have some people in your life that are going to say, yeah, Chris, go for it. Go do it. Do it, Chris. No, Chris, it's too scary. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be yourself. People aren't going to find you offensive. They're not going to like the swearing. I'm not going to follow you if you swear. Don't follow me. It's okay. I'm going to go live my life. But so many people are playing the Sunday game, and they're not taking responsibility for themselves. They're blaming. And for me, one of the biggest aspects of my growth and my healing was to be able to look at the people in my life that I used to blame and resent and have anger for, and be able to see them in a different light and be able to say, listen, if I went through what they experienced in their life, and all the different decision makers that were involved in their life, might I be like them? And I used that with my mom, because I was not happy with my mom whatsoever. And in the healing process, being able to see what she went through and put myself in her shoes and understand her better, I was able to have empathy and love and forgiveness for her, which in turn gave me love and empathy and forgiveness for myself. It's not our fault what happens to us when we're kids. Like, it wasn't my fault that I got the shit beat out of me 10 times a day because I didn't do menial little things. It wasn't my fault that I got beat up from kids at school because I didn't know how to defend myself. I thought it was my fault. I thought there was something wrong with me. But then when I realized it wasn't my fault of what happened to me, it's my fault. It's my responsibility if I continued to be a victim to that stuff that happened 25 years ago. So I've been to therapy, I've been to psychological, I've been on medicine. I've done everything to make sure that I can heal myself and continue to grow myself, because it's passionate for me that I leave a legacy for my son whenever my time goes, that he knows that his dad, lived his legacy, which, happened in 2008 when I wrote my eulogy. And I came home from a funeral and I thought, if I died tomorrow, who would show up and what would they say? And all of you guys listening, watching this, think about that. If I died tomorrow, who would show up and what would they say? And for me at that time, I figured a bunch of people would show up with beer and Jack Daniels and Motley Crue and Bon Jovi records and tell all the stupid stuff that Chris did when he was drunk. And oh yeah, he was a homeless guy that became a coach and helped people. I was like, no, 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 no. And I went home and I wrote my eulogy, and the crux of that eulogy still stands today, Randy. And it says that Christopher Rausch will have fought for what was right and what was fair, that he will have risked for which that mattered, and he will have left the earth a better place for who he was and what he did. And that's so important to me, Randy, that every single day I do that with whatever message I do, whatever live I do, show I do, that if God forbid my time comes faster, then I don't get to see my son have kids, which is my goal right now. I want to be a grandfather, which I thought I would never say in my life. If that day comes, then I know that I've lived my legacy every single day, that if I do die, that my son can go and look at anything and go, Dad was living his legacy. Dad was on point. Dad never gave up. Maybe he didn't have the massive success and change a billion lives that he wanted to, but every single day he was setting out to become a better person and to make the world a better place. And that's the big leverage for me, man. What about you? What is your why?
Well, I think you're exactly right. And it's interesting because there's a period of time, and I'm at an age, I'm a few years older than you, and I'm only going to say a few. It's more few that I could be not your dad, but I could be your much older brother. And then we'll leave it at that.
Just a number.
Just a number anyways. Because I don't know what I feel like. I feel like I'm like, well, my wife, hashtag Dixie chick, she sometimes refers to me as, she said, I had 12-year-olds when I taught special ed. And I said, well, you took me on as a project, and you're not doing very well because I'm still not much above that level at times because I'm a bit childish and a bit immature at times when I just get around her and friends. But, my why is what you said. I was all about, I'll say it one more time, all about 24/7, build business, grow business. But I did it in a way that it wasn't as negative as that sounds because I absolutely love what I do, right? Just love it. I get up every day to do it. And so it's not work to me. I work a lot, but I don't work at all because it's really not, even the bullshit is, okay, that sucks. You're going to have it. You do it, you resolve it, and you move on, right? But I do recognize that as having kids and then having grandkids, which between the two of us, we have 8. And that's where you go. That's where you have a shocked look, Chris, and say you can't be old enough to have 8 grandkids. I'll wait for it. Anyway.
Oh my God, you have 8 grandkids?
Right, there you go. Hold on. This even gets better. And I also have a great grandson now that'll be a year old. I know that's, yeah.
You started having kids when you were 10?
Freeze that face for a minute. 'Cause that's just like, holy crap. I see Wes. I can see him. I can see him. He's going, no, he can't because he knows I do. But I found myself, to answer your question, my love and desire to build business hasn't gone away. But my biggest weakness that I work on daily is finding the balance between my love and desire to build business to putting that away, putting this stupid thing away, putting the stupid iPad away and the stupid PC away, and getting off of social media and chatting with Chris Rausch or looking at what he's doing or what Wes Wyatt's doing or what Barry Brockstrom is doing, and put time into other people close to me, right? And that's a struggle for me because it's not that I don't love doing that, but I'm not, like you said earlier, if you build a life that you're not running away from, I'm not running away from something. I'm not like, can't wait till 5 o'clock so I can go hang out with the family because I hate work. If I worked all night, I'd be happy because I love what I do. Does that make sense? So it's a struggle. It's a balance is a struggle. But my why is definitely the kids, the grandkids, same thing. That's one of the beautiful things about the stuff like you and I and Wes and Mark that's he may or may not still be on, and Ken and all the people that we know. What we do right here is some legacy that our families can look at someday. My great-grand, like you said, I hope I'm around for my great-grandson when he's 25. But if I'm not, someday he can look at this show and say, man, my great G-Pa, he was talking to Chris, man. I like this Chris guy, and G-Pa had some good shit to say. Oh, yeah, that was pretty good, right? So I know what you're saying. So that's the why. It's funny when you turn that wheel. I will always be for my customer and there for my customer. But if it's date time with this Dixie chick, I'm really working hard to go, yeah, good customer, but you have to wait till tomorrow, right? Because moment in time, right? Moment in time, this is more important today. And that's a struggle. I think that a lot of people have, especially if they reach any normal amount or maybe a little better than normal amount of success. You don't want to lose that. You don't want to lose what it took to get there, and you're well aware of what it took to get there, right? And so it becomes scary that if I don't keep doing what I always did, I'm going to go back to what I did before I did what I did, and then I'll have what I don't have and not have, and all kinds of weird words that is not what I want, right?
What you're talking about, Randy, is something that I did not know about until I left corporate. I never really identified with what my identity was. I'm Chris. This is who I am. This is what I do, and I never really thought about how much my identity, my values, and everything, my self-perceptualization, everything was very wrapped up into my job and my career and my corporate situation and my relationships there. So when I left on November 7th of 2019, I was rather surprised at the amount of challenge that I had with all of a sudden going from being the director of operations to having these responsibilities, to having all this oversight, financial, millions of dollars, to now just being Chris. I don't have to get up in the morning to go to work anymore. I'm not needed anymore. I would check in with them. Do you guys need anything? Nope, we got it. And to be quite honest, nobody's watching this, but to be quite honest, the people that I worked with, I mean, the friendships that I had, the brotherhoods that I had, everything that I had that I thought was something, I found out wasn't the something that I thought it was. So I had built up this thing in my mind about who I was and what I represented and what people thought of me and my value to everybody. And so when I left all that behind, that took a toll on me from November till, I mean, obviously we know March last year, that's when COVID started. I mean, that's when the big lockdown started. So for that journey for me, and during that time, was one that I had to go through. I did not want to go through it. There were some pretty miserable times in there, thinking about the things I had done for people and the things I'd done for the company and the way that it all went down when I left. It was very saddening. It was very disheartening. It was very demoralizing. It really made me question my sense of confidence. It made me question, was it all bullshit? And I went through this turmoil, but I knew even in the middle of that turmoil that I had to figure it out, because that I knew that other people would be experiencing this or are experiencing this. So I've always been one of those guys in every challenge of my life, whether it was my first divorce, whether it was alcoholism, whether it was drugs, whether it was, painkiller, anything that I've had to challenge myself to become stronger and to overcome. I always knew that one day I would be able to take that challenge and help other people. And I've just always found the grittiness in that. But to your point, when I've had people, even Margaret, I'm not sure if she's on here before anymore, but she's a corporate person. She has a massively huge corporate responsibility for a major organization, and she's talking about leaving. And I said, okay, I'm going to prepare you for this, that there will be a point when you leave and you're just gonna be like, and it went, and I've seen so many people do it. I've got a buddy down in Australia, John McMillan, I'm sorry. Huge landscaper, super successful, profitable business, high-end customers in Australia. And he goes, fuck, mate. He goes, I'm thinking about closing the business, or I'm thinking about stepping away from the business. And I didn't understand what he meant by that. I thought he was going to have his people run the business. And he says, no, I'm going to step away from it. And I didn't check in for a couple of months. And I said, hey, John, how's it going? He's a massive coach. He's a great guy. And he's like, fuck. He goes, I woke up the next morning. I didn't know who I was. He goes, I wasn't. And so to your point, that might be something you want to consider, is like, okay, what if I step away from all of this stuff? Who will I be then? And that may be one of the reasons why you're so dependent upon that. And I'm not saying that because I know you love it. I see what you do. I do know that, but that might be something you want to consider in the back of your head. And for anybody else listening to this, if you're associated with something that you feel like is a part of you, when that part isn't there anymore, there's an opportunity to proactively start recognizing who you truly are as a spiritual being, and to be able to love and accept yourself more as who you are, not for what you do. So those are just my thoughts on that, because it was challenging for me. And even to this day, I still have periods where I'm like, whoo, but then I sit there and I go, I wish it well. It was all the best. I appreciate that experience. That's not who I am anymore. I've changed so much in the last 2 years, but it's the way we identify ourselves by the people we associate with and the responsibilities that we have that someday may cause us to kind of go, oh, I don't have that anymore. Who am I?
Right. Exactly. That's good advice. And I think you're 100% right, because at some point, all things come to an end, right? Or a phase. And are you prepared for that next phase, whatever that phase may be? And I think you're successful in what you do if you're intertwined with it. But what happens when you become unintertwined with it, right? And all of a sudden it's just like you said, you just one day. And I look at myself. What if one day could become more age than anything else at some point. But what if I'm just not Randy the Rep anymore? Because that's what I am, right? That's me. If you got right down to it, I'm Randy the Rep. I'm the guy that's going to take care of you all day, every day, no matter what you need. I'm there for you. What if all of a sudden nobody needs me anymore? And then what are you, right? And I think that's what you're saying is you better figure out what that is. One last thing, because I know I don't want to take you any longer than you promised to be on, but
I could be on here. I could be on here for 2 days, dude.
Well, I know.
I'll be on here for 2 days. My dog's
Wes has Xavier's football tonight, so if we don't end up at a certain time, he'll just leave a setting here, and I don't know what will happen because I won't know how to end the show. So because I'll just have to talk till tomorrow or next week. But
it's a telethon. It's a telethon. The Randy telethon.
Exactly. But you hit on something, and maybe the last thought is. And I call it the Chevy Chase syndrome because you kind of hit on it a few minutes ago about do you take time to smell the roses? Do you take time to enjoy? And I think a lot of people get wrapped up, and I call it the Chevy Chase syndrome because of watching like Family Vacation and all those. You remember where he would? It was almost like, look, kids, the Tower of Big Ben and the Grand Canyon. You there, Rusty, right? Hey, look, Rusty. The Grand Canyon, let's go, right? It was like the whole mission was to get to the Grand Canyon, see it for like 12 seconds, and then we're on to the next. So it wasn't about the journey; it was always about the destination. I guess is the point I'm getting to. Mm-hmm. And I know that's something I really want to get your views on. It has to be, if we're going to be happy, it has to be about the journey, not just the destination. Am I right?
Oh, dude, seriously, I'm so glad you brought that up. It's one of the most passionate things that I've learned about myself in going from that survivor mode into just being in the mode that I'm at now, which is just like letting things unfold. But the most important aspect of what I've learned is that, again, I used to be tied to those outcomes and those results. I'm like, what am I going to get when I do this? And now I'm just in the moment because there's no guarantee that 10 minutes from now, I'm not going to slip down the stairs and fall and crack my head and God forbid die. So I've learned, especially as I've gotten older in life, that the journey and the magic really is in the moments. And I never was in the moment. I would always be somewhat in the moment, but I'm ADHD on crack and I can multitask like nobody's business. So even if I was in the moment with a conversation, I would still be thinking about all these other different things, the success print. What do I have to do? And so now when Jackson came along, and I still did that for the first couple of years of his life, but especially in the last couple of years, is I really recognized, again, going back to what's my intention? What's my intention? If I'm going to spend time with my wife, what's my intention right now? What mode am I going to be in? Am I going to be in coach mode or am I going to be in loving husband mode? And this is a great question that I ask myself before or when I'm in a situation. Especially with Jackson. So I always check myself. Am I being the dad right now that I would want to be if I were Jackson? And so I put myself in a 5-year-old position. We did this when we were camping a couple of months ago, and it was inside and it was hot outside. I didn't want to go outside and deal with the heat. We were inside watching movies. It was good. He was watching his iPad, and we did that for like 4 hours. And I thought, okay, he's fine. But if I was a 5-year-old in a camping spot in a trailer with all the toys here, I wouldn't care if it was hot. I wouldn't go out there and play. I want to go out there and experience. So just asking myself that question, I'm like, hey guys, let's go outside. Well, it's hot. Let's just go outside anyway. Let's go outside for a little bit. It's not a big deal. It's only heat. I mean, we get so pussified sometimes that we're like, oh, it's hot outside. It's like, you know what? Go live and be in the moment, because that's where the magic is. When you're truly in the moment, you're truly listening to somebody, you're truly giving them eye contact, and you paraphrase back to your wife, oh my God, I can't believe what a day you had. I mean, I can't believe you had that customer. How did that make you feel? How did you get over that? What did you do? And you listen to them and you engage with them. Those people feel loved and received and listened to and absorbed, and they don't feel like that you're off in some other place, which I was always guilty of. I admit it. So the juice and the magic is really being in the moments and setting that intention. Like, when I do my shows, like tonight I'll do my show. We do the Friday show at 5:00. I always, after the show's over, usually at 6:00, I sit here for a few moments. I wrap up my headphones and I'm like, okay, next thing, dad mode. Okay, who do I need to be in dad mode? Fun, playful. And I just sit there and I take a moment. I just think, okay, what kind of dad would I want to be right now? If I came downstairs and I just got out of school and I go down there, I'm like, hey, what's up, buddy? And tickle them and da-da-da. I used to walk down there, oh, that was a good show, and da-da-da, and talk about all the different things on the guests. I'm like, they don't care about that shit. They can watch it if they want to. So the magic is being in the moment. The magic is really also in having a sense of belief and a confidence that I teach people now today, is just to understand that life is happening for you. It's not happening to you. And that in every situation, situation, we have the opportunity to respond or react. And a lot of people react because based out of fear. So if we start looking through life through the lens of love and start seeing things more from love and not from fear, that we can really change and just embrace the life as it unfolds for us. I know that as much as I want things to happen right now, I know they're going to happen. And that's my challenge right now. This is my lesson that I need to learn, is to let go, Chris. Let go, keep showing up, keep doing what you're doing. It's going to happen. It's all part of the process. Bamboo takes forever to break through the surface of the soil, but then it shoots up really quick. And we've heard a lot about that stuff. So for me, it's just like, enjoy the moment, enjoy the moment, enjoy the people you're with, and be a part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Chris, I am going to let you get out of here and let Wes go and talk about family time. Let Wes go watch the Cards play tonight. Let's give Wes on 3 a big go Cards. 1, 2, 3, go Cards!
Go Cards!
Hey. Xavier's going to light it up tonight. I don't know who they're playing, but it'll be good. But anyway, I greatly appreciate the friendship, number one. Ongoing, not just on this show, but just in general, and keep doing what you're doing, my brother. I mean, it's amazing stuff you do out there.
Thank you. With beautiful people like you and the crowd that we have together, it's amazing. So, just surround yourself with bitch and ass people, and it happens. So, Randy, my brother, I thank you for being on here. I thank Wes for handling the controls. I thank Barry, Margaret, Mark, Kellen, all the beautiful people that showed up either live or on the replay. Thank you, guys. I appreciate and love each and every one of you. I do.
You're the best, brother. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Kick ass.
Go get him. Fire. All right, there we go. My friend, my pal, what a guy, Christopher Rausch, the hashtag No Excuses Coach. If you don't follow him, follow him. Follow his shows. Look him up at ChristopherRausch.com. Follow this coming up on the bottom of the screen. You got to follow the guy. He has some great shows, great guests. Even when he's on by himself, some of the best. What you saw right there is real, it's raw, and it's right to the point. You're gonna love the guy. Anyways, great thanks for him being on. My friend, my buddy, and my pal Wes Wyatt, another great job of running the controls and making sure this thing goes off without a hitch. And so with that said, we're going to get off to a Friday, talking about balance. And I got a little traveling to do for the next few days. And next week, I will be chatting with you all on Building Wins Live from my Florida office. I'll be down there sometime midweek, and we'll be there for a while. So a little different background, but same idea, same thing. We're going to build wins together. And I got a fun guest next week, J.R. Arsenault. Hopefully I didn't screw up that name. But he's going to be, he's a friend, he's a pal, he's a fellow podcaster, photographer extraordinaire, and he's a mastermind. He's got some old school brilliance that he's going to bring to the table, and we're going to have some great chats. You'll love JR. So that's next week, 3 p.m. live. Facebook, YouTube, be there, and go have the best ever. Remember, you get one go around. So seize the day, live it, love it, own it, love what you do what you love, and remember this. Say it with me. Ready? On 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. Make today your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Cheers, my friends.